outdoor friends and folks. This is the Outdoor Report podcast. I'm your host, Wes Gall, and this is episode number 2, Roots and Rut. And the reason we got Roots and Rut, our guest today is a gentleman that had a influential part in a lot of my hunting growing up. His name is Scott Rademacher. So that kind of covers the roots part of it. And the rut part of it is, obviously here in Minnesota and across the Midwest, we're getting into the rut in the deer hunting season. So everyone's really jacked up about that, including myself. So we're going to talk with Scotty a little bit about the rut as well. But back to Scotty Rademacher. He's a good friend of mine. Back when I was 13, my dad wanted me to go get a job. So he was putting out some feelers, and he knew one of the owners at the St. Joe Gas and Bait Shop. And he went in there and he finagled a job for me. So I started working there. I was 13, and Scott was the manager of the time. So Scott was my boss. That's how I first got to know Scotty. And we had a lot of fun actually at the bait shop. It was a good place to start working in, and you get the old timers that came in, and we had a few old timers too that worked at the bait shop. So it was an enjoyable time in my life. I was able to meet Scott, but he had a big part with some of the hunting that I do now. I first started hunting with my dad. My dad's who initially got me into it, with the Quack and Rat crew, which were some of his friends. So that was kind of where it all started for me. But when I got older in my teens, I wanted to keep hunting more. My dad, he was more geared up and had more passion for fishing, so we had a little bit of a disconnect there. But when I met Scott at the bait shop, we talked a lot and probably wasted a lot of work time talking about hunting and goose hunting and deer hunting and turkey hunting. And he was one of the guys that when I entered in my teens, that I was able to get to know, and I've asked him tons of questions and learned from him. And then eventually when I got to be about 16, Scott actually took me on a goose hunt with his family, which his family consists of his dad, Jerry Rademacher, and his brothers, Chad and Eric Rademacher. So they took me out on a goose hunt, and I guess you could say the rest is a little bit history from there. Now we've done tons of turkey hunting together over the years, tons of deer hunting, and they're just a cool, unique, dynamic family that they love to hunt. They're very passionate about it. They can get competitive about it, and they really taught me a lot that I didn't know already about hunting. So for that I am grateful, and the friendship that I've had with Scott and his whole family, I'm very grateful for. They're not friends anymore. I really consider them part of my family. They're just a good group of people. So that's who we have on the show today, is Scott Rademacher. And one of the main reasons I wanted Scott to come on, we'll talk with him a little bit about how he got into hunting, but he has a really cool story about a deer hunt that took place over a 3-year period over in Wisconsin at one of his buddies' places, Kyle Kolbaum's place over in Wisconsin. And it's a cool story. It's about Kyle shooting 3 really nice bucks 3 years in a row on the exact same date, October 16th. And it's a crazy story. We did film some of it, and we made a TV show out of it last year for the Outdoor Report TV show. But that year that we aired it, he killed another buck on the same date. So it was just a crazy story. Scott will fill us in on that. And then a year after these crazy 3 years of bucks on the same date, Scott went out there and he shot a buck of his own and got that on film. So there's a lot of cool stuff there. I think you'll like it a lot. And then we'll talk with Scott a little bit about the upcoming rut and what his preparations are. But we'll dive into it here. We'll get Scott on the phone. I hope you enjoy, and thanks for listening.
All right. I think we're set to go now. I think we're better off right now than what we were the last time we tried to do this. I don't know if you heard the first episode, Scott.
I did hear. Sounds like there were technical difficulties, if you will.
Technical difficulties on the golf household front. So we should be past that, I think. Hopefully we learned our lesson. So I appreciate you taking the time to sit and talk We're going to label this episode Roots and Rut. Does that sound okay to you?
Hey, that'll work for me. You always come up with clever things like that.
So I already kind of introduced to the audience of who you are and how we got to get to know each other at the good old famous bait shop. I don't know if you have anything to say about how great of an employee I was. That would be a good time to say it.
I actually think, if we could somehow get a hold of your jersey that you first, or your uniform that you first had, we could maybe hang it in the rafters above the bait tanks. You're such a legend around those parts.
Those were the good old days. I do miss them.
All good things run through the St. Joe Bait Shop.
The St. Joe Bait Shop. So I gave a little bit of a background of how you were part of my roots of getting into some different parts of hunting, and that led back to the bait shop. But what I want to ask you before we get into some more of the other hunting aspect side of it, what are some of your roots, Scotty? How did you? And I talked briefly a little bit about your dad and your brothers. But what's the backstory of Scott Rademacher and the Rademachers? How did you get into hunting and where you are at today?
Oh, geez, I didn't know this was going to be an interview of sorts. But, hunting goes way back for me. I mean, from a very young age, I remember my dad, every weekend, any chance he'd get, he took, saved all his vacation for the fall just to get out. And I mean, any time that, he was going out, I remember from when I was very young, it was such a privilege, and I just longed to be with all the time, to be a part of the action, because, it was something that he enjoyed so much. And, right from the get-go, it was something that I, from age, 8, 9, 10 on, was always jumping in the old blue 1977 Ford with Jerry and heading out chasing pheasants. I guess that's what we primarily did, when I was a youngster. And, we did some duck hunting. And then eventually, as I got older, we did a lot more deer hunting. So it was just something, my dad was very passionate about, and he passed it on to, me and my two brothers, and we're still going strong today, I guess.
The thing that I liked and love about the most between you and your dad and your brothers is your compassion and competition towards hunting. Because there's never a dull moment with you guys. And was that something that, and for those of you who don't know the Rademachers, when we're out hunting, it's kind of, sometimes it's intense. If the birds aren't coming in right, or the deer busting, and you guys are very precise about how you hunt and what you should do and shouldn't do. Was that instilled from Jerry, your dad, or was that something that came about as you guys grew up together?
Competition, we all played a lot of sports when we were younger, so we all were very competitive, but intense. I noticed you used the word intense. Is that what we're going with? Intense?
You guys can be intense.
We'll go with that.
It's a good thing, though. You're maybe driven. You're very driven to get whatever you're pursuing.
Oh, yeah, I guess we'll go with that. I mean, it's just when your time is so valuable to you, you want things to work out. And when things aren't working out, we all kind of have our different ideas. We'll go with that. Ideas on why it's not working out, want to change things. And, yeah, it's fun, though. Like you said, there's a lot of competition, especially for me and my brothers when it comes to deer hunting. Who's gonna score on a trophy, and there's bragging rights, I guess. I'm getting a little bit past that now as I get a little older. My kids are getting going in hunting. I like seeing, my dad's getting a little older, kids are getting into it, so I like to see them achieve the success first. Whereas, 10 years ago, I know I wouldn't be saying that.
It's funny you say that, because I was fortunate enough to be at the age I was. You guys are obviously 10, 15 years or older than me, but I was able to tag along with you and be like a little...
Okay, hold up. 15... Okay, how old are you?
30. Record? How old are you?
41. A young 40.
10 to 15. So, I mean, that's a range, right?
Closer to 10. We'll go closer to 10.
All right. We'll stick to 10. But We'll round down instead of up.
All right, sounds good.
I was fortunate to be like a little brother to be able to tag along and see the competition side of it, and your guys' drive just to get out and hunt. And it's been fun to have kids together with you and your brothers, because there has been a change. Because I even remember growing up and going out hunting with you guys. My dad, dad is who initially got me into hunting, but he wasn't as competitive or as gung ho on the hunting end of it as you guys were. So my dad was always like, just relax. It's just hunting. And it was funny as we've over the last 10 years with kids on all of our parts, how that's changed over to, it's like you said, it's not as big of a deal if you get the game or not. It's just getting out together.
Right. That's the part that I enjoy most now, is the camaraderie, hanging out, good buddies on, like yourself. Unfortunately, we don't get to do it enough, but when we do, it's always a good time, and there's usually some success, so that always helps as well.
So speaking of buddies and success, one of the main reasons why I wanted to get you on the phone was to talk about your amazing story that took place with Kyle Kohlbaum. So I kind of let in a little bit before we got you on the phone of kind of what took place, but that story in itself is so unique, along with the buck that you had last year. If you don't mind taking it from the top of exactly how that all played out with Kyle, and what was the scoop that happened? Did that start in 2014?
Yeah, so 2014 was the first year that we achieved, the ultimate success. But as you're well aware, we started filming a number of years before that. I want to say we've been going strong the first year out there, I used your older video camera. I don't know, what would that have been? 2009, 2010, somewhere in there.
I picked them up in 2008 and filmed deer hunting at the Quack, and then I think we first used them that spring turkey of 2009.
Okay, so probably that fall. It was either 2009 or 2010. And I know we went a couple years without getting anything. Everything was very new. I learned a lot about, I didn't even know how to run the darn camera. You had to give me a thorough walkthrough before I even went out there. But I just liked being out there, and Kyle being a very good buddy, basically another brother, much older brother.
15. He's the 15.
Yeah, let's go with that, and we'll make sure he hears this. But yeah, just going out there and having those encounters. I remember one of the first years we were out there, and it was when we had your initial camera, is when we had like a 15-point buck that came out of the woods, and I'll never forget that. Me trying to call and film, and I was turning the camera on and off, and must have been about a half dozen times, and didn't really get very good video of the deer. But so yeah, we had our trials and tribulations. Shot a couple does on film, which was a lot of fun. Very, very intense. Just the camera adds a whole new aspect to hunting when you're up in the tree with a camera. Trying not to get busted. Two big lugs up in a tree stand together. Trying not to be winded. But again, yeah, then it comes full circle to 2014. We had our routine, for a number of years. Yeah, we're going to go out, and it was October. Yeah, that was the first time I was down there, October 16th, and got down there, met Kyle. We got down with work early, and it's 70 degrees. I'll never forget. We're doing the B-roll, if you will, or the intro, driving over there, and we're kind of laughing like it's 70 degrees. What's going to be moving? Because we had fully only intended to shoot a buck that weekend, a nice buck at that. And we were driving over there, 70 degrees, and Kyle made the comment that we should just be in flip-flops rather than climbing up in a tree. But lo and behold, we got up in the tree and sat there in the very toasty sun beating on our faces, and out steps a 12-point buck at probably 150 yards, and he comes marching into 150 yards, and yeah, it was intense. We had a GoPro going. We had I filmed him come in, got very good video of it, and he made a decent shot. It wasn't perfect, so we didn't find the deer that night. So a pretty sleepless night of are we going to find the deer or not? We got back there that morning, and for those that don't know me, I'm colorblind, so I'm basically helpless when it comes to.
Forgot about that. Yeah.
Hey Scott, here's blood. Stand here. I'm like the little brother that's out there just standing in one spot until they find another blood spot. So literally, we ended up. It was Kyle, myself, and his wife Ray Lynn. We ended up kind of wandering aimlessly, and all of a sudden Kyle started hollering, and there he is, and he had ran straight down this hill and ended up in a river. So I ended up getting a pretty cool video of Kyle that year dragging that 12-point back across the river. So the feeling of success was good.
So that was in 2014, and then now fast forward to 2015.
So 2015, it's like, okay, well, we had luck this weekend. Let's do it up again. And I remember that it was a Thursday night that I went down there. It was the 15th of October, and Kyle's wife Ray Lynn had saw a nice buck go into a section of their woods, and Kyle and I both believed, like, yeah, it's real thick down in there. What if that deer comes back out tonight? Goes back across their field. And we sat down. And we actually had a really cool encounter. On the 15th, that Thursday night, Kyle elected to pass. So the next morning, we decided to go to what we call our ridge stand. I know, Wesley, you've sat there before. It's a pretty sweet little spot where deer just tend to funnel by, no matter what time of the year you're in there. So we climb in the stand, and actually, let me take a step back. We're going in there, and Kyle and I had a mini argument if we were going to go there or not, because it's quite a trek to go all the way down one ridge and all the way back up another. And I remember getting about 40 yards from the stand, and deer are running every which direction. And Kyle turns around and just gives me a thumbs up and says, "Good idea." And I just shook my head like,
So you wanted to go there, and he didn't want to.
He agreed to go. I just think I had told him, with the wind that we had, I thought it made good sense to go there. It was going to be a cool morning. Now, I'm not going to claim to be the hero, but maybe I was. So anyways, he kind of shamed me with the thumbs up, like, nice thinking, Scott, to go tromp in here. But we climb in the stand, and we can hear a deer walking right away at first light, and up comes ended up being a little buck, came right up this little waterway that is just below the stand there, and you can hear another deer walking before we even saw the buck, and out steps this 147-inch 10-point buck, and he looks like he's going to go past us, and for whatever reason he gets he's probably 45 yards in front of us. He turns around and just marches right where he needed to march, basically, and Kyle put a good hit on him, and we recovered that, and I guess we were on a roll. We were feeling really good about that one, because he came right in. Beautiful footage of the deer. We're both very proud of that hunt. Actually was featured on the show that Eric and Wes had produced last year. So it was just really neat to kind of be a part of all of that.
So that's two impressive bucks, both on camera, and both shot on October 16th. So that in and of itself is amazing. So then what happened? So that was 2014. So what happened then in 2016?
So 2016 rolls around, and now October 16th is going to fall on a Sunday. And Kyle and I had talked and laughed about it for how long? Because during 2016, Kyle's main goal was to get his son Sam a deer, with the bow. So he'd been filming Sam the entire fall. And lo and behold, on October 16th, we talked that morning. He said, "Yep, I'm going to be going out that night. This is a stand I'm going to." Yeah, a lot of times Kyle and I talk, before he goes out, before I even hunt, hey, kind of rub shoulders a bit, exchange some ideas on what each other's opinion is of the spot and what we should do. Strategize, I guess. Is the word.
I was going to say, you never rubbed my shoulders before we went on a hunt.
I know. You don't listen. You don't listen very good to me. We don't get to hang out enough, maybe. Maybe we don't talk. Maybe we work too much. Maybe Kyle just doesn't work as much as us. But
I don't know. It could be.
So 2016, and it's Sunday afternoon, and literally I'll remember I'm standing, in the middle of my house, and it's 10 after 4, and all of a sudden, my phone rings and it's from him. And as I look at my caller ID and I see his name, it's like, what in the world is he doing? He should be in the stand already. It's 10 after 4. Like, he's kind of running late. And I pick up the phone and, oh, buddy, it's happening again. He literally had got in the stand. He said he was just buckling, kind of getting Sam situated to get the camera rolling. And Sam actually sees a doe coming up the hill from where they were sitting. And right behind her is this 136 and 5/8 inch 9-pointer comes in. And, Kyle, got a bit flustered. He wasn't really ready. So he made a shot on it. Unfortunately, we didn't recover the deer right away. But after I employed my services to come down a day and a half later, I believe it was, ended up finding the deer, beautiful deer, and it's hanging on Kyle's wall today. It's pretty incredible for 3 October 16th in a row for him to capitalize on beautiful deer. Unfortunately, that did come to a screeching halt this year because he wasn't able to make it out until literally the last light of October 16th. He saw 5 deer and 1 buck came right underneath him, but it wasn't to his standard, so that one lived to see another day.
So I kind of want to rewind just a little bit because it's crazy. I've never heard of it happening like that anywhere from anybody. And what I think is even cool is I know you skipped over the part about where you came into play, but that's that's what really is. I mean, I guess you might blush a little bit. That's where a testament of where, Scott, you're a true friend, because for those that don't know the story, Kyle, unfortunately, like you mentioned, he wasn't able to find his deer right away. And did it go for was it a 2-day? You said a day and a half.
Yeah, that's right. It was. He shot it on a Sunday. He looked Monday. He looked Tuesday night. I went down Wednesday. That's right. It was Wednesday morning that I went down. So
right.
Yeah.
So Scott is back in St. Joe, St. Cloud area, and where Kyle is hunting, that's 2.5 hour drive away. So Kyle went through looking for this buck. You're going on almost 2 days now for sure, going on to number 3. And coming on to Wednesday, I think Kyle kind of gave up, and Scott said, it's dead. It's out there. I'm going to drive out and look through the woods. And that's what's awesome. What was the scoop when you got there, got to the woods? How did you recover that deer?
So, Kyle and I had talked a bunch, when he looked Monday, he had another buddy with him, and they looked, he talked about the area that he looked in, and, I looked at some aerial maps, and, this is where we had last blood, and, I told him, I think it'd be smart to go out there, just listen for coyotes or listen for crows, Tuesday, once you get off work. We went out there, didn't see anything, didn't hear anything, so, hope was definitely fading, but I told Kyle, you made a good enough hit on him. I saw Sam was able to get the camera rolling. It was very quick, but you could see that he had, it was through the middle of the body. So I thought the deer, would be, that the deer was dead. So I just encouraged Kyle to try to get a hold of the next landowner over on the direction the deer was traveling. He owned a bunch of land, and I said, hey, if you can get permission from that guy, if you can get a hold of him, I'll take off of work and I'll come down. So he called me on Wednesday morning and said, hey, I just talked to that farmer, and he said, come on down. And so I rolled down there, and literally I get down to this area. And again, last year was the first year that we had access to this new property Kyle bought, and then the 40 acres next to it, Eric and I lease. So I really don't know the area at all. So I get out there, and I'm looking at an aerial map on what land this guy owns, and basically I'm looking at for a needle in a haystack. And I just told myself, okay, I'm going to start walking. I'm going to get to this ridge because it's all a pretty steep ridge, hillside that connects these properties. I said, I'm going to listen for crows. I'm going to look for a water hole that I had found on the aerial map and that Kyle had talked about. And I'm walking, and the first ridge of trees that I get to, there's crows kind of going bananas in there. And, I'm thinking to myself, like, gosh, usually they're just spookier than this. Anytime there's crows around, they're always spooky to humans. So I literally crawl up this hill about 100 yards, and I get to the top, and, it's hot, and I'm thinking, what am I doing? Like there's no way I'm finding this deer in this humongous woods and ridge. Like I don't know what am I doing down here? So I literally looked down the hill and there's the water hole, that I was thinking of. And as I am going to start walking back down the hill towards this water hole, I look to my left, and 75 yards away, I can see just the big white rack sticking up. And let me tell you, that's about the fastest a 40-year-old man could run. I'd pretty much challenge anybody to race me when I saw that deer. So Kyle couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. And yeah, it was pretty incredible just to find it. So I was glad to be a part of another October 16th success story.
It's absolutely crazy for that to happen and play out the way that it did. Like 3 years in a row, and then even on that third year for it not to go as ideal as any hunter would like, but to still find it is almost. I mean, it's kind of a sad way for the story to end, but it's kind of icing on the cake of just the determination on your guys' end to make it work.
Right. Yeah. Obviously, we were both frustrated, thinking that there was the possibility that he wasn't going to find it. And I remember Eric and I both were just peppering Kyle with text messages like, "Hey, we can find him yet. Let's not give up." Because obviously, when you're in the hunter's shoes, and I've been there before, it's pretty disheartening to lose an animal. So,
I employed one of your strategies that I learned this past weekend. Up at the Quack and Rack, one of the guys, Dylan Fuchs, shot a buck, and then we went in Saturday night. Was that Friday night? Went in Friday night, had great blood to start, and it kept trickling off, and then we didn't know what was going on, so we backed out. But we went in that Saturday morning to look for it, and there was no blood, and it was starting to get dry. So it was hard to even tell. So then I'm like, I'm just gonna go walk along the riverbank and just keep looking down at the water and see, because you always mentioned and from what you guys have documented, they like to run to the water when they're injured. And sure enough, we found it right at the foot of the Mississippi down a huge bank. And on this one, on the third one here, was that going towards the water hole, do you think?
It's tough to say. He definitely was on that path where he could have ended up down there, but I don't know. He maybe just didn't make it that far. It's tough to say.
But on the other one, was it the first one that it went to water? The first buck in 2014?
Yep, and he ran straight. He had bedded one time, and then it was straight down to the. That deer was hit in the liver, and what I've read is that on a liver hit deer, that the deer gets thirsty. That's why they oftentimes find them. That you'll find your deer near water. So I've saw it on multiple shows. I don't know. I guess it's panned out for us.
And so the first two you got on film. The third year, Sam got part of it on film. Yep. And then when I have to laugh at Scott, because for me, I've been getting more pickier and pickier about how to film and to put it on a tripod. But every year, Scott he's a one-armed cameraman, and he always gets the footage. So do you have any tips on when you aren't using a tree arm and you're just freehanding it? Any advice?
Yeah, like Wes said, he has preached at me multiple times, Scotty, you need to use a tree arm. We need steady footage. But hey, I will challenge anybody out there with my freehanding. I can have the right hand on it, and I guide with my left hand. Even if I get the jitters a little bit on a big one, you have that anti-shake in your camera, so it's not really showing up. But I think the footage we've put together has been pretty good thus far. Both a bunch of stuff we have on turkeys as well as the deer stuff. So.
When the moment's intense, you always come through. There's times in between where I'm looking at search footage and I'm shaking my head and like not seeing it. Use a camera arm, would you? But on all the intense encounters that you had, you have always come through. So it's been impressive.
So far, so good. Don't jinx me.
I won't. It's true. So I don't know how much you get into talking about the October lull or the October shift, as Mark Kenyon from White Hunt puts it, but for those $3 to be taken 3 years in a row on the same day, right during the middle of October, do you have any thoughts about supposedly the October lull? Is it something else? What have you noticed?
I definitely don't claim to be an expert. I used to, hey, that's what everybody talked about from, the 14th of October till the, 23rd of October. It's the lull. You're not going to see any bucks. Well, starting in 2014, I pretty much erased that idea that that was going to happen. So I know, even after Kyle shot his buck in, I believe it was 15, I went out, I believe it was that weekend, even myself, and did some rattling and calling, and I had good luck with deer coming in. Nothing that I wanted to shoot, but I believe I saw like 5-6 bucks one morning that responded to calling. So it all depends on weather and what kind of mood the deer are in that day, I guess.
So now had the 3 bucks in a row, and then you went out to Kyle's place last year, and that's when you had your encounter and your hunt, right?
That is correct. So Eric and I know in 2015 I don't think I shot a deer. Maybe I shot a doe, but Kyle knows how hard I hunt, and just didn't have any opportunities at a big buck. And he's like, man, you just got to start coming out here bow hunting. As hard as you hunt, you should get more opportunities. So Kyle's a great friend, and definitely I wasn't gonna ask twice on an invite like that. So yeah, last year Eric and I went down end of October 27th, first night in the tree. We had a great encounter with a really nice 8-pointer. I think most people have been really happy with them, and even after passing, was like, geez, should I have passed it? That was pretty nice, but definitely glad I did, because the next night we went out and we had our success.
So tell me a little bit about what all happened on that particular buck.
So, talked it over quite a bit with Kyle, where we wanted to sit. It was, again, going to be warm. It was 70-some degrees. Again, sunny as can be where we have this stand that overlooks a little water hole. And the idea was, end of October, bucks should be out looking around. It's hot. They're likely going to come to water for a drink if they're looking around for a doe. So we're sitting there, and, literally, all of a sudden Eric's like, Scott, deer coming. And I'm looking kind of past Eric down this ridge and can see it's, it looks to be a nice buck. And, it's pretty windy, wind's blowing in my face, and Eric's looking away from me. And yeah, he's telling me, yeah, it's a good buck, but I'm half deaf from all the duck and pheasant goose hunting. So I never even heard him. So the deer gets to a path where in our mind, the deer is going to turn and come up to this water hole. Well, that didn't happen. He gets to this trail and proceeds to come, on a basically beeline right towards us, and he's coming underneath the stand. Eric's got him on camera the whole way. But the funny thing is when we're coming down to the stand, we had to go all the way through this property. It's like a big bowl. You start on a ridge, you go all the way down, and you have to come back up to get to this stand into this water hole. I told Eric, I want to cut through this deep ravine behind the stand so that we don't get, so nothing cuts our track basically coming in. Again, thinking that they're going to come on that trail and go up to the water hole. Well, this buck comes behind me, and as everything happened so quick, I'm basically hung out to dry. I'm faced directly west. This deer is going to be behind me, to the east. And literally, I can remember standing there like, okay, what do I do? And I hear he gets to our track. I can hear him walking. He gets to our track, and I hear him literally take like a big snort of, okay, what is this? And literally, you can hear when the deer gets, we've all saw it. When deer gets a little nervous, they start taking those steps like something isn't quite right. And he started doing that while I am slowly making, like doing the scooching my feet around so I can get turned around. And literally, as I'm doing that, Eric is now having to wrap all the way around the tree. And as he does that, Eric's coat goes on the tree. And as his coat nicks the tree, I mean, I'm at full draw. The deer looks up and whack, I smacked him good. I mean, he ran 15 yards, rolled once, got up on the hill, rolled again, and then everything kind of went silent. And I told Eric, I think he's dead right there. And we gave him, I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes. During that time, another buck did proceed to do exactly what they're supposed to do and came right into the water hole and got a drink. And he was just a little fella, so that was good. glad he wasn't any bigger. But yeah, then we tiptoed out of there, and sure enough, he was laying there dead, within 100 yards of the tree. So it was a lot of fun. So
for everyone that's listening, we're recording this on Monday the 23rd. We'll probably put it out on, I don't know, Wednesday or Thursday, would that be the 25th, 26th year? It's probably the 25th or 26th that you're listening to this. And what we've done is we've edited up Scott's footage of this particular hunt that his brother Eric filmed, and we'll put that out tomorrow or 2 days from now, depending what day you're listening to it, on the 27th. So you can catch a sneak peek and go take a look at that particular hunt. It's really cool. And again, I'm assuming Eric was probably just freehanding it, right?
of course, the funny thing is, we got to the stand and we pulled the trail cam chip that overlooked the water, and we're going through there. Well, first I'm trying to get Eric up in the tree, and Eric, for those people that know, Eric well, and he's part monkey as far as, climbing up trees. Well, we get there and the stand hangs so goofy, and it's back, again, you have to come up a hill. So Eric's in a portable that's, I don't know, 25-ish feet. And literally he is definitely afraid. He's got the death grip going in there. I didn't know if we were going to be able to hunt until we finally got him strapped in, and yeah, got him comfortable once he was in there. But yeah, he did freehand it. He learned from Big Brother, and he did a heck of a job too. So it was a really, really fun hunt. And as you can see in the footage, Eric, you listen to Eric's voice. He's probably more shook up than me, because he was watching the deer then the entire time. I saw it coming. He looked pretty nice, and I'm for the I saw him was when he initially came, and I turned around and I was at full draw before I really had time to think about it. So kind of glad it's now.
It's impressive. Not only just the hunts that we talked about, but we could sit here for another hour talking about the hunts between the rest of the family up there and Kyle and all that stuff. But it's a pretty unique opportunity, and it's fun to see how it's all come together for you and Kyle and the whole family out there.
Yeah, it's really been a ton of fun, and definitely appreciate my good buddy Kyle, letting us tag with every year for gun season. I believe it's been it must be coming up on 15 years here. So we've shot a bunch of deer out there, shot some nice deer out there, and always have a great time. Something that we look forward to every year.
So we're sitting here on Monday, and the forecast is looking great. We've got Thursday. It looks like the cold front coming through with some chance of snow showers. What would your 2 cents or a little bit of advice that would be for anyone listening that's looking to hunt this week, late week, and into the weekend, and then up to with the rut coming here? Any thoughts or plans of what you think is the best way to approach some of the stuff coming?
I guess my first thought is you probably want to pack up. It looks like it's going to be 30-mile-per-hour winds, so it could be a little breezy up in the tree. But I guess one tip that I'd give is, throw on your big coat and take some practice shots. It does make a difference. Everybody's been shooting with their early season clothes on, and now the bibs are going to come out, and the big coats and hats and everything else, and all that can play an impact on shooting. So I would, I know I'm going to throw my stuff on before I head to the stand, and and zip some arrows and make sure everything is dialed in before climbing in the tree.
What days are you going to try to get out?
Well, my tentative plan is to take off from here late Wednesday night and be down there for Thursday morning hunt. I actually just talked to Kyle about an hour ago, and he said he just had got a text from his neighbor who saw an absolute giant. So obviously that helps and motivates me a little bit to hustle through my work stuff on Wednesday and get down there, because like you said, Thursday it's looking like snow for down there is going to roll in the afternoon. So I think Thursday morning could be a good morning in the tree.
Thanks. Any probably going to wrap it up here. Do you have any other concluding thoughts about the deer season coming up?
I'm just very excited. It's that time of the year that we all live for. We've had a pretty successful fall shooting geese. We shot a bunch of geese. My kids got a bunch of shooting, so I deem that a success. And this year hopefully we can. Last year's going to be tough to beat. We between the 4 of us, we put 3 on the wall. Well, there's 5 of us now with Sam, but Sam shot a buck. Shot a buck last year, and he's looking for a good one this year. So it'll be tough to top that this year, but we're going to try like heck. So,
Are Hunt and Garrett getting out? Were they both hunting this year?
yeah, they've been out, but the weather's been kind of goofy, and we've been trying to be smarter about what winds we hunt, that sort of thing. So, no shots have been fired by either of them yet, but I'm sure once gun season rolls around, we went out yesterday and sighted in all the guns. Bought a new 20 gauge with a scope for myself, but I'm a hunter using that this year for gun season. So looking forward to him hopefully getting some shooting.
What's the scoop with Jerry? Is he going out this year? Is he still gung ho on geese?
Jerry? Jerry loves his geese. There's no doubt about that. And he's definitely shot his share this year. But yeah, he's starting to get the itch too. It was funny. I was texting with him earlier today, like, Dad, you better zip a few arrows and get ready, because come this weekend the deer should be moving. So if you're looking to spend some time in the stand, that would be the weekend to do it. So
awesome. All right. Well, I appreciate it, Scott. Not only the podcast help here, but also just everything that we've been through over the years. So I thanks for your help on this, and I am sure we will be in touch here over the next couple of days.
Absolutely, buddy. Appreciate the call, and it's been fun reliving some fun moments.
All right. Well, good luck. We'll talk to you this week.
All right. Sounds good, bud.
And that is a wrap. Again, special thanks to Scott Rademacher. I am blown away by that story of 3 bucks in 3 years on the same date. I hope you were too. I find it fascinating, the weird things and from year to year that go on, and the coincidences. And I was just talking to somebody, I forget what the story was, but they found a deer, or somebody shot a deer, and they found a balloon next to it, and then another person shot a deer and found a balloon next to it on the same day. Just weird things when you're out in the woods, what can happen, and year after year, how things can transpire and come together. So again, thanks to Scott and the Rademachers for all they've done and sharing that story. If you got a unique story that is cool, off the wall, that needs to be shared, keep the Outdoor Report and us in mind. We'd love to get you on the phone if you know somebody that would like to talk about a unique story. Give us a heads up who it is, and we can reach out to them. But good luck to all the hunters and the anglers who are still out there. We've got snow coming this Friday, so I know everyone's pretty excited about what that might do for the deer activity, especially as we're getting into the rut and going into the last weekend of October. So good luck to everybody. Be safe, wear your harness, and keep us posted. We'd love to hear and see who's all having some success out there, and go from there. Peace out.